Hello there, Braden Smith here from Learn to Play the Fiddle, where I teach you how to play proper Irish fiddle style. In the last tune tutorial I was taking you through a slip jig called Farewell to Wally Range. I hope you enjoyed playing that tune. In today's video I want to take you through a great Irish jig called Cailleach and Airgid. This is sometimes called the hag with the money in English. And this is a jig that's associated with a song. I'm not going to sing you the song, don't worry, but I am going to teach you the tune. It's a really cracking tune to play, a proper old style Irish jig. So let's get into it. So I'll play you the tune through once just so you can hear how it goes first of all, and then we'll start breaking it down into parts and into bars so that you can learn the melody. So first of all, here's the tune played through once. Lovely, so that's the tune. You might have noticed I said I'd play it through once. I actually played it through twice. It always feels a bit weird to play a tune through just once. So that was the tune twice through. It's a two-part jig, and we'll break it down and learn the melody. So it's got an A part and a B part, and first of all we're going to learn the A part. Before we start, it's worth saying this tune is in the key of D or A mode of D, but you hear it played differently by different people. So I'm going to play this tune mainly with C sharps, so using a normal D major scale. So that's C sharp there. But you will definitely also hear this tune played with some C naturals as well, particularly in the A part. I'm going to teach it to you first of all the way that I would normally play it with C sharps throughout, but we will towards the end we'll come back and look at the options for playing this tune with C naturals in some places. If you're interested, that would turn it from a tune that's in D major into a tune that's in D mixolydian. Don't worry too much if that doesn't mean anything to you. We'll come back and look at the differences at the end of this video. So first of all, here's the A part. I'll just play you the melody through super slow so that you can hear how the tune goes, and then I'll play it through for you up close so that you can see what's going on with my left hand, and then we'll break it down a little bit. That's the A part through once. I'll just do it one more time, a touch slower, just in case that's helpful. So counting in, this is a jig, so we're in 6/8, so counting in with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll just show you that all up close, and then I'm just going to give you a couple of pointers for things that you might find useful in this A part. Great. So obviously, if you're still working out those notes, then you can play that background, go back to the beginning of that section, keep playing that until you've worked it out. There are a couple of things that I'm going to point out that might be helpful to you. The first is there's obviously there's some repeated phrases in here. This first bar, this phrase at the beginning is the one that starts several bars in this first part. So, and then you do it again, but with a change. Back to that first phrase again. And then it goes off in a different direction. So that might be helpful just to realise that that same little cluster of notes happens again and again. There's also one note in here that you need to make sure you're holding for its full length of time, and that's as a G in the middle of this tune, which is a whole 3 beats long, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'll play it for you with counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that note in the middle there. 4, 5, 6. And when it comes around again, we're just going to chop it short. It's just going to be 4, 5, and then we move on to the next phrase. So 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So just make sure that you're sorting out that rhythm, keeping everything really on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Just before we leave the A part, it's worth just pointing out a couple of things that I'm doing with the left hand. So I'm just going to show you these up close. So towards the end of this A part, you've got a phrase that comes up. So the second half of the A part. Here. Try and leave that second and third finger down if you can while you play the open E string, because then you can come back through those notes down that scale of the tune. Like so. So just showing you that last phrase one more time. So just see if you can keep those second and third fingers down while you move up onto the open E string, up onto the E, keeping them down. So let's crack on with the melody first and have a look at the B part. So I'll just play it through for you again slowly so that you can hear just the melody, and then we'll have a look at it up close and break down any bits that might be tripping you up. So here's the melody through first of all, nice and slow. Good. So let's have a look at that up close, and then we'll just talk about any details that might be useful. Cool, so that's the B part melody. If you're still working out those notes, you can go back over, replay that section until you're feeling a bit more comfortable with them. But there's a couple of things would be useful to point out at this point. Notice how in the B part, in the same way as in the A part, this phrase starts many of the phrases. In the B part, it's similar, but it's a rising phrase. If you keep that in mind as you're playing, you'll notice how several parts of the B part start with that phrase. And again. And again. And from here, notice how this ending is the same as the A part as well. And that same trick with keeping the second and third fingers down, you can do that in the B part as well. In fact, actually even more than that last phrase, the few notes that precede it as well might not seem like they're the same as the A part, but actually they are the same notes, just in a different octave. So if you look at the A part, that's the ending, beginning of the ending from the A part. In the B part, it's the same notes, A, G, E, rather than A, G, E. So in the A part, and that's the B part. So it's actually the same phrase, just with a few of the notes moved up an octave. Great, so hopefully you've got the melody sorted now. If you haven't, don't worry, you can keep playing that section over until you're happy with the melody. Get that nice and comfortable under your fingers first, and now we'll have a look at some bowing first of all in the A part. So here's a little look at what we might do with some slurs in the A part. So the simplest thing that we can do with this in terms of bowing is to slur into the beat, or slur between the groups of 3 notes. So in a jig, if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, common thing to do is to slur into the 1 or slur into the 4. And there's a couple of easy places that we can do this in the A part of this tune. So let's have a look at that. So in this first phrase, you can do exactly this. You can slur between the 3rd and 4th notes, or the 3rd and 4th beats. So, and there's our 4th beat in the bar. That's a very natural place to put a slur. In the second phrase of the A part, you could do something similar. So in those first 2 phrases, you can do the same thing, slurring between the 3rd and 4th notes. So have a go at that first of all. We'll have a look at some other places that you can put slurs in this A part when we talk about ornamentation, because the two kind of go together. In the second half of the A part, you might do the same thing. And here you can slur between this B and the A in this phrase. So that's the 6th beat in the bar slurring into the 1st beat. And again, I'll show you that one more time. So slurring those first 2 notes. And here maybe at the end as well. Slurring between this A and the G. That's also a possibility. Slightly more tricky because you're crossing between the strings. So you can try that if you like, but if not, just keep it simple. Slur between that B and the A towards the end there. Nice and easy. So let's have a look at some bowing for the B part as well, and then we'll talk about ornamentation and it'll get a lot more interesting. So in the B part, what can we do here? So let's have a look. Here you might slur into this high F sharp. So that first phrase. That'd be one thing you could do. You could also slur into that D as well. One more time. Maybe something similar in the second phrase. Or maybe you might slur all of these notes together, slurring into that D in the same way. You could even slur those 4 notes together. And this one I quite like. Slurring there into that open string. So what would that sound like put together, slurring those group of 4 notes together first of all? If you're playing this quite slowly, you might find that you're running out of bow there, but as you speed up it gets a bit easier. It's starting to give that phrase a really nice shape now. Just one more time. So that's something you might do in the B part. Let's hear the whole B part with some slurs nice and slowly. You might slur into that F sharp as well. So there are some ideas for some bowing for the A part and B part. As always, as I always say, these aren't things you have to do. Find your own bowing patterns. These are just suggestions. If you like them, keep them. If you don't, find things you like better. So let's have a look at some of the places you might play some ornamentation in this tune. We'll keep it fairly simple to start with and just have a look at where you might put some cuts into this tune. If you're interested in knowing how to play cuts, or you'd like to see how I teach playing cuts, then I'll link to the video that I've made about that. But for now I'm just going to show you where I would play them in this tune. So let's have a look at the A part first of all. So in this A part there's some obvious places that you might want to put some cuts in this first phrase. That would be the obvious place. Just separating those 2 A's. In the second phrase, you could do the same thing in a couple of different places. So separating those 2 A's and those 2 E's. Like so. In the B part, you could put some 4th finger cuts on these high D's. So one place it might be nice to put a cut would be in this first phrase on that D there. So you could do that with a 4th finger cut, and with the slur that we were talking about before, like that. That would be a thing you could do in that first phrase. You could also cut those high F sharps as well. That would also be a nice place to put a cut. So those are just some ideas of places that you might put cuts in this tune. And there's lots of other ornamentation we could put in as well. For example, there's a very natural place to put a long roll on that high F sharp. Again, if you want to know about playing long rolls, I'll link to the video I made all about doing long rolls and where to put them in tunes. But in this tune, there's a very natural place in the B part to play a long roll on that F sharp, the long note there. So that's where I would definitely play a long roll most of the time in this tune. I would play that. Like so. Just a little bit slower. As I say, if you're still working out how to play rolls on the fiddle, then do check out the video that I've made about how I teach people to play long rolls and how you can practice them. Another thing that we could do is play some crayons on the long A's in the A part. So that would sound like this. that's replacing a couple of separate A notes, joining them together and playing a cran there instead, like so. Finally, if you want to get really fancy, you could also play some chords and unison chords in here. So the easy thing to do is you can play some D and A note chords pretty much the whole way through. You can leave some D drones, G drones on underneath those low Gs. That will work most of the time. I wouldn't advise doing it constantly, but you can choose your moments to bring in some open string drones. There are also moments where you might want to play some unison chords, so playing an A with your third or fourth finger underneath the open A string. Here, for example, sliding into it with the third finger or playing it with the fourth finger. Normally with this particular example, I'll slide into it with the third finger. I think it sounds good. For example, like that. Like so. So there are a few examples of things that you could do with this tune. If there's anything in there that you don't understand or would like me to go into more detail, please do leave a comment in the comments. I do read them, so I can always make a quick response video. If there's something that you don't understand or you would like to see me go into more detail, then please do let me know. So I said that we would talk about playing this tune with C naturals rather than C sharps throughout. This is going to change the kind of tonal quality or the feel of this tune quite a bit, but it's worth knowing that you can do this. So I just want to show you, particularly in the A part. The B part is slightly different, but in the A part you can certainly choose to play C naturals rather than C sharps for most of the tune, really, for most of the A part. So I'll just play that for you, and so you can see what it sounds like, and see whether it's something you want to play around with. And then I want to have just say a couple of things about what you might do with this. So you notice that when I'm playing that, I'm leaving one C sharp in there towards the end. And that's because into the B part, I think I would always really want to use C sharps in the B part. So in the B part, we're going to really shift into D major. To me, this feels like the natural place the tune goes is into D major with C sharps throughout. So I'm going to keep that there. But in the A part, if you want to, you can have a much more D mixolydian feel, so more C naturals if you like. This isn't the way I play the tune, but this is certainly the way that you'll hear the tune played by some people. So you can mix it up. You know, you might not want to switch between the two quite so abruptly, but you can certainly play around. Which leads to the final thing I want to say about that C note, which is that for a lot of traditional fiddle players, it's not a question of whether or not it's a C natural or a C sharp. It's whatever you want it to be. So you can play that note as a full C natural, you can play it as a C sharp, you can play it somewhere in between, and you can shift that somewhere in between as much as you like. So play around with that. The notes between C natural and C sharp aren't out of tune notes. They can give the tune a real character. So I'm just going to play that A part around a couple of times so you can hear what I mean. I'm going to play with some C naturals, some C sharps, and some things in between. And you can hear how that changes slightly the quality of the tune. So it's a subtle thing, but you can probably hear there that I'm playing with some notes that are fully C natural, some notes that are fully C sharp, some notes that are definitely in between, and just once or twice, I can't remember, notes that are sliding between the two. So you've got lots of possibilities with that note in this tune, and that's going to change quite a bit about the sound of the tune. Great, so I'll finish by just playing the tune through at a nice steady speed so that hopefully you can play along. If you're learning this tune and you're getting the melody now, then this would be a good time to have a go playing along with me. Don't worry if you're not getting all the notes, just try and keep going. That's the most important thing, keep the beat going. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, then please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It all really helps. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. This is the Hag with the Money.